Hi folks and welcome to Tech Talk. My name is Anu. My guest today is Sanjay Subhedar. He is founding managing director at Storm Ventures. Come join me. Hi Sanjay, and thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me on.
Of course. So you are founding managing director at Storm Ventures. Prior to Storm Ventures, you were Chief Operating Officer and Chief Financial Officer at eTech Dynamics. eTech Dynamics was acquired by JDSU for a whopping $17 billion in 2000. Prior to that, you were with Stratacom. You were the Chief Financial Officer there from the early days, sort of inception, to when Cisco acquired them for $4.7 billion. You originally hail from India. You were born in Mumbai and raised in Kanpur, and then you ended up in the United States for your MBA, and all great things after that. So my first question to you is, tell me about the sectors that Storm Ventures invests in, and what is the size of the fund?
So Anu, the last fund was Storm 5, which was a $180 million fund, and we're almost done with investing that, and the next fund, Storm 6, will be about the same size, and we're in the process of closing that soon. And we are investing in enterprise SaaS only, so we only do B2B, and right now it's enterprise SaaS solutions.
I see. So tell me about your own decision-making process when you're getting ready to invest in a company.
So first of all, we are looking for companies that are addressing large markets. So because we don't want to invent new markets, we want to have an existing market. And then if there's already a large market, what that means is there are some very strong incumbents, otherwise the market wouldn't be large, doing very well and selling a lot. And so there's budgets and there's people spending. And so that's one of the first things. The second thing is then we're looking for companies that are going to disrupt that with some new technology and better solutions, and that they have a chance of getting 20-30% market share in this large market. And so that's the second thing we're looking for, is what is the disruption that will cause enterprises to buy this competing solution rather than what they've been buying in the past. And then the third is, what we're looking for is how easy is it going to be to get that leading market share and disrupt the market. And for that, you need skill, domain knowledge, domain expertise. You need a go-to-market strategy that'll work. And all of that gives us some idea of how much money will be required. And if it's too much money because it's going to be very hard, then it gives us pause. But if it's easy to get deployed and easy to trial the solution, then obviously it's a great opportunity for us to invest in.
Sure. When you initially meet an entrepreneur, what is one important question that you don't get asked that you really wish you would get asked?
Well, I think most entrepreneurs are looking for money, and that's all they care about. And I think what they should really care about, money is plentiful right now, so there's no shortage of money. What they really should be asking is, what's the help that they can get besides the money, and how much time will the investor spend on the board with the company, and what else can he bring to the table besides just money?
Sure. What do you believe is the number one indicator of success in a company?
I don't know if it's just one thing, but one of the things that is important, I think, is a passion to make a difference and make an impact. And if somebody just says that they just want to make money, that is probably a contraindicator, because when I think about people like Steve Jobs, they just wanted to make computers available for the masses, and they didn't think so much about how much money I'm going to make. So when an entrepreneur shows that passion and commitment, that's more interesting than just saying, I'm just going to make a lot of money, because that's not the point that we're looking to fund.
Of course. Which do you think is more important? A great revenue model but no user traction, or great user traction but no revenue?
Well, that's one is easy. I think getting lots of users is very important. Now, particularly on the consumer side, that is very critical, obviously, because the more users you have, the better it is. And even in the enterprise. But the key thing is, and that's what we tell entrepreneurs, is that it's not just buying a solution or a software. If you're not using it and it's not being used every day in your business, that's not a good thing. So what we're looking for is, on the consumer side, the same thing is called engagement, is that not only are people buying that software or downloading the software, but are they using it? So having lots and lots of users using your solution tells you a couple of things, is that it works, it does things, and the more users you have, the more chances you have to modify things and address problems for different users, maybe different industries, maybe different size of companies. So having more users is always good. The monetizing them comes later, but I think having lots and lots of users is always a very good sign.
Sure. Okay. So aside from the money, what other value does Storm Ventures provide to their portfolio companies?
Well, there are 3 or 4 things that we tell entrepreneurs that we can bring. The first thing is that usually an entrepreneur, he's trying to go after an enterprise market. He or she may not have the contacts at the biggest customers. So for example, if you're trying to sell a solution to a Fidelity or Goldman Sachs or Intel or a Apple, let's say, we probably have some connections that we can make some introductions that will open the door for you, because as a startup, your name, your business card may not carry the weight to open the door. So making the right introductions to the right people who give you the right feedback about your solution is the most important thing, because you just don't want, you want feedback from somebody who's very serious about what it takes to get your solution to be adopted by this large company. So opening those doors and getting those first, what we call beacon customers or lighthouse customers, is very critical, and we help with that. The second thing is, most companies need good employees, and we probably have, like most VCs, a stable of proven executives in different functions, whether it's sales or marketing or finance, who have done it and done it well before, and we can bring them to the table. So that's the third thing, is a second thing, that is great people. The third thing is, in any company, that young company, you want to be addressing as broad a market, a global market, let's say. So in those cases, sometimes you need to partner with a local distributor or local representative or local channel. So whether it's in Japan or Europe or Germany, or even in the US, finding the right partners to take your product to the market early on when you don't have the resources, we can help with that. And lastly, syndicating and getting financing. That's the fourth element where we help with, is that you want, as the company grows, you need more and more capital. Who should the capital come from, and who will be good value-added investors? That's what we can help with too.
Of course, makes sense. What is your perspective on some of the most significant changes in the venture capital funding environment in the last decade?
2 significant changes. First, it's very easy to start a company, and you don't need a lot of capital, and it's the combination of all the stuff that we have invested in as a venture capital in technology that enables things like cloud computing and storage on demand and compute on demand and very high bandwidth and very good wireless. All of those technologies make it very easy to start a company with very little capital, and to have that company solution be available very broadly, again with very little capital. And so that has meant that our earlier funds were like large, 300 million or so plus. But now, because you don't need as much capital, at least not in the early stages, you can get a company started very easily. The second thing is, once you have traction and you have proven, then to get capital, 50 million, 100 million, is very easy now because there are very large funds who will bring that capital to you. And so those are two large trends that we kind of, very easy to start and lots of capital. But the third thing that has become important is there is a tendency for the market to give a winner-take-all prize, if you would. Mm-hmm. So I remember, if you look back 20 years ago, there were lots and lots of computer companies, lots and lots of personal computer companies, maybe 20, 30, 40 plus. There was lots of mini computer companies. There were lots of router companies, 20, 30. And many of those companies went public, so a venture capitalist could invest in companies, and if 10 venture capitalists invested in 10 different companies, the chances were many of those companies would go public and get a good exit. So there were over 200 router companies that got funded, and maybe over 20 that went public. But what has happened is that every generation of technology, fewer companies are finding the IPO as a market, and they end up being acquired.
Right.
So what I would say, in the past, 90% of the companies would get acquired and 10% would go public. I would say today, 99% get acquired and only 1% go public. And you see this phenomena of winner takes all. And in that phenomena, the winner also is getting the bulk of the profit. So for example, if you recall, in the cell phone, let's take a very easy example. Apple seems like it's number one and it gets all the profits. And if you look at all the other companies like Samsung and Nokia and the Chinese manufacturers, they don't get the profits. And they may have market share, but they don't have the profits. And so that's the kind of winner take all the profits is another phenomena of what's happening today. So it becomes very critical to execute extremely well and use your money intelligently, because if you're not number one, the chances are you're just going to get scraps in terms of profits. You may have market share, but you may not have the profits, which then translates into valuation and returns.
Sure, sure. I'm going to pivot the conversation here a little bit.
Yeah.
And talk about your childhood. So you were born and raised in India. What was your childhood like? What was your family life like?
So my mother was from Bombay and my father was from Kanpur in the north. And I grew up in Kanpur, and although I was born in the hospital in Bombay. And we were a very traditional Hindu family, very religious. We didn't eat meat growing up. And my parents sent me to a Christian school in Kanpur, which was one of the best schools back then. And I remember my parents' friends would say, "Why are you sending him to a Christian school? They're going to try and convert him." And my parents said, "No, we are instilling him the culture and of tradition of our Hindu religion, and he's going to get exposed to the other religions, and he's going to make his own decisions." So, but as a result of that, I got an excellent education, and I also got informed about other cultures and other religions, and which I think is something that is very beneficial, especially as you try to be more tolerant of diversity of thought and beliefs and all of that. Having that as part of your education helps.
Sure, of course. So what do you do outside of being a VC? What are your interests?
Well, one of the things is I love food and I love wine and I love drinking. Yeah. And so what that means is that to indulge in that interest and passion, I have to work out a lot. Right. So I do work out a lot and try to keep a good health. And that's a big investment that I think all of us need to make as we live longer and longer. the quality of life is determined by how healthy you are. So the quantity is increased, but the quality has to keep up with the quantity of life. So I think working out is a commitment that I've made, and eating different kinds of foods, which means, and I like travel too. So travel gives you the opportunity to try different foods and different culture, meet different people, different cultures. So those are some of the passions that I have.
I see. So Sanjay, what advice would you have for anybody who wants to who's interested in pursuing a career in venture capital?
I would say the analogy I would use is a sports analogy, where if you want to be a coach in the professional leagues, basketball or football or baseball, I think having played the game and won championships makes you a better coach, and it helps you recruit the right people to build the right team, and you have the credibility with the players. So similarly, I think having experience as an entrepreneur or a manager of a company and scaling it from startup to an IPO or to an acquisition and getting customers and solving problems gives you the knowledge and the expertise to help portfolio companies and guide the next generation of entrepreneurs. So having the operating experience, I think, is critical. So I would say invest in getting an operating experience before becoming a VC, and you can do that after having spent 20, 30 years of helping build companies.
Sure. Sanjay, thanks so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure having you here, and I hope to see more of you again in the future.
Thank you, Anu. It was a pleasure doing this, and I hope it's helpful to you and your audience.
Absolutely. Folks, thanks for joining us. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.